Hey everybody, I just wanted to give a warning that this game does have intense depictions of violence. I'm only giving this warning because most of the videos I've done aren't to this degree, so with that being said, viewer discretion is advised. Hello everybody, welcome to Nostalgia Goggles. I'm Chris, also known as Retro Gaming Nerd, and today we're going to be talking about Gears of War. I have no clue how I heard about this game. I think the first time I heard about this game, weirdly enough, was in church, so tells you what the kids were doing at the time, I guess. I don't think this is a church discussion game, in all truth. But, I don't know. I know that this game was popular, but, I don't know how popular. I know that this is one of the Xbox original darlings, and I know a lot of people like it, but I don't know if this one holds up specifically. With that being said, let's find out. So the story of Gears of War is like Halo, where it starts kind of in between things. There's a lot of stuff that happened before Gears of War itself, but the game starts with you playing as a character called Marcus Phoenix, being broken out by a friend named Dom. Once you are broken out, you eventually find out that you need to place this thing underground called a resonator. Why? Well, that's because your antagonist of this game are these creatures called the Locusts that come from underground. The resonator allows them to map the underground, and that allows them to strike properly. The story goes on farther than that, which, if you want to know more about it, definitely play the game. But that's the story. There is more to it, obviously. You eventually gain and lose characters as the game goes on, and there's a lot to this game, realistically. I think the story itself is super solid and super engaging, especially since how I was introduced to Gears of War was not the story, but the violence. The thing that people always told me about it is, wow, this game's gory, wow, this game's graphic, but it never told me that the story of Gears of War is the way that it is. It actually talks about poverty and how the Gears themselves are not 100% the good guys. How there is a group of people that do not see the Gears as good guys, and how the Gears are even questioning how they work. Marcus Phoenix is a character that is reluctantly here, you know, especially since, you know, he was actually thrown under the bus. So, and when we find out later, so are other characters. All in all, the story of Gears of War is super, super solid and not something that I was expecting from this franchise. I want to talk more about the story, but I feel like that's something that needs to come more into presentation, because since I am reviewing both games at the same time, the way that this game presents itself narratively does change, and I feel like that's about the place where we talk about it. With that being said, though, let's do this in order correctly, and so with that being said, we're going to move on to gameplay. Gears of War is a cover shooter, and it's wildly fun. I think the thing that makes this game super fun about it being a cover shooter is it feels like a arcadey style. It invokes that same feeling of something that you would find at, I don't know, I don't exactly know how to explain it, but the game itself just is super solid and super fun. And it just, all the weapons seem to work out very well. Another thing that comes to mind with this game is that not only is it just a shooter, but it does allow you to make choices between where you go. This game heavily relies on not just being a cover shooter, but also being a multiplayer shooter. Because if you're playing this with a friend, you know, since you do have a lot of branching pathways, the game will be very different, and I think that that's what also makes this game great, is that this is a couch co-op game. You can play this with somebody physically there, and I think that that'd be super fun to do. I haven't really done it before. Most of my playthroughs of these games have been solo. I can probably get Olivia to sit down and play these games with me, but I think that that's really cool that there's a game where the second player is actually important to the narrative. And with that being said, the gameplay is just super solid. I love the weapon selection within this game. It is very limited, but I like them. And the way that the weapons work is that you are allowed to have 4 weapons at a time. You have your grenade, 2 assault rifles, and a handgun. Now, there's not really many, but you have a sniper rifle, a shotgun, an assault rifle, a different form of assault rifle, which is the Hammerburst and the Lancer. Those are the only ones I'm going to give by name, because those are the ones I'm 100% for sure about, and even then I might be incorrect. I know for sure it's the Lancer. But each gun works differently and has a different kind of purpose, so much so that I don't think realistically you're ever going to be bored with the weapon selection you have, and it allows for a decent amount of customization. The game does give you the weapons that it wants to a degree. For instance, you are going to need the Hammer of Dawn. There's no avoiding it. That's another weapon that comes into this game, but it's also very limited within the game. So I think all in all, there's more to it as well, by the way. You're not just cover shooting the whole way through. There's a vehicle segment that is okay. And then there's also, you can also use turrets along the way. And this game is more than what I'm saying it is. There's a lot more to it, especially since there are characters that can only be handled, like I said, with the Hammer of Dawn. So I am really, really, really summarizing this game. I am summarizing it, and if this game piques your interest through gameplay, you should definitely give it a try, because this game just rocks. I absolutely love this game. So with that being said though, let's move on to presentation, because I have a lot to say there. So the way that you look at this game presentation-wise is going to be different. The original Xbox 360 version of this game is a darker and grittier experience, following more of horror movies and, you know, playing with the more terrifying aspects of Gears of War, where the Xbox One version plays it more as an action movie, and that's just how it feels, right? One plays to the horror and kind of the terror of it, and then the other one's just kind of, you know, it's kind of action movie-y. I don't think that that's a bad thing, but I do think that really depending on how you're feeling towards the game, there will be a massive difference. And yes, I'm reviewing both games. This is where the game split between Xbox 360 and the Xbox One for me. There probably is major gameplay differences, but I cannot honestly tell you the gameplay differences. They feel very similar, at least similar enough. So with that being said though, the presentation of this game is vastly different because one version of the game is a cleaner, more beautiful experience where the other one is gritty and dark. And I feel like they're both great. The Xbox 360 game holds up so damn much, and that's probably because this is the era of where games kind of didn't grow beyond it. We're more in that era of like consistency now. Like yes, graphics are getting better and stuff, but like Xbox 360 games and PlayStation 3 games are going to hold up for a while, and this is one of them that definitely does that. I feel like you can play the 360 version and not have an issue, but I feel like it really depends on the experience you want to have. If you want convenience and you want a prettier looking game, definitely go with the Xbox One version of the game, which by the way isn't a slouch either. Yes, this game is prettier, but it does still keep that aesthetic of the kind of gritty game. It's cleaner, but it's not much cleaner. It's just, I feel like there is a definite difference between looking at one version and then the other. There's definitely a preference somewhere down the line. And I don't have that preference, but I can see where somebody would. Either way, when it gets right down to it, both games are still worth playing today, and it really comes down to which one you want to get your hands on, especially since they're both available on the Xbox today. So with that being said, and also with that being said, realistically, let's move on to talking about the prices of these two games. So when it gets right down to it, this game's pretty accessible. This game is also a little frustrating because there are multiple releases of Gears of War 1 itself. So with that being said, I'm going to be talking about the original version, which will set you back for about $5 to $10. Or there is also on the Xbox 360 a triple pack, which comes with DLC, Gears of War 1 and Gears of War 2, which is about $15. That's beautiful. There's also Gears of War Definitive Edition, which is Ultimate Edition, which will set you back about $12. But also there's a combo version of this game, which comes with Rare Replay, which will also set you back about $12. It's really funny that the collections come with what they do. Like, I think the Xbox 360 version is the better one because it comes with Gears of War 2, but I think, to me, what makes me laugh is that this game came with Rare Replay, and honestly, that's a pretty good deal if you can get it, mainly because I like Rare Replay. But game's gonna set you back not much money. But the thing about this being an Xbox game is that there is also Game Pass. So for the price of Game Pass, you can get both games for free to relatively cheap. I don't know the Game Pass prices, and also I'm not gonna bother looking them up because they're digital, and you know, when it comes to the digital thing, I'm not really good at it, so I'm just gonna leave it at what you can go out and buy it as. All in all, I think that realistically, it comes down to which one you are looking for and what kind of experience you're looking for. at least presentation-wise, because if you're looking for the original gritty, kind of dark horror movie-inspired game, go with the Xbox One. If you don't mind it being cleaner and even easier to really, because I can't even say it's easier to play, because Game Pass is digital, so it really just comes down to your preference at the end of the day. With that being said, let's move on to the goods and the bads. Gears of War is a super solid game, and with that being said, I don't exactly know, the game's good, right? Like, this game's super good. I think the thing about this game that's really cool is that Gears of War is more than what you would expect. You would expect this to just be some bloodfest, macho, whatever, when at the end, and it is, but when it gets right down to it, it's a little more than that. There's a lot more story, and the narrative is super fun. And with the Ultimate Edition of this game, you also get the PC version of Gears of War, which I realize isn't in accessibility, and that's fine. So, with that being said though, the PC version had missions and other things that weren't there. The Ultimate version allows you to have that on a console, and that's just dope. There's a lot of video games that I wish would do this, such as Sonic Adventure, where there was DLC that came out for the Dreamcast, and also the Dreamcast presented itself differently. We'll talk more about that in Sonic Adventure. But if there was a Ultimate version that allowed you to have everything, that'd be great. Now, once again, that's a whole different topic, and that's a whole different episode. But it's really cool that the Ultimate version allows you to do that. Another thing that's really great is that the gameplay is solid, and all in all, this is just a super solid game. It's super solid even down to the point of where the 360 version is still a viable option because of how good it looks. That's amazing. With that being said though, I feel like that's also what makes it good, is that how you want to play this game comes down to preference, not, you know, this game just is that timeless. It holds up that well that I can't sit there and tell you that there is such a big difference between the two. And I think that that's really kind of how this should be from now on. If there is ever a game remake, it should come down to preference over, you know, other things. Like, yeah, I mean, there's gonna be quality of life. That's inevitable, but this is just awesome that this game still holds up so much so that I could even recommend the original without having some kind of caveat to it. With that being said, let's move on to the bads. I'm gonna save you time and just say that there is none. You could probably find something. No, I got nothing. I'm sorry. You guys have final thoughts. So, does Gears of War 1 hold up? Absolutely. This game just works. I think it's one of those games that if you haven't played it, definitely check it out if you're of age and can handle the graphical content of this game. The thing that really is interesting about it is how I was sold at this game is, ooh, it's super violent. There's buckets of blood. It's super violent. But really, it actually tells a very interesting and well-done story. The thing that's really also great about this game, last but not least, is both versions still hold up today. So, with that being said, yeah, Gears of War holds up. With that being said, I'll see you guys next time here on Nostalgia Goggles. Bye!